It's 1991. The nuclear war is over and Central Europe is devastated. Norway has become one of the last habitable areas. But in a now lawless world, radiation is no longer your biggest fear. That's the premise of Vigor, a post-apocalyptic survival shooter. The Norwegian world of Vigor is quite beautifully realized. Stark, cold, highly detailed, and punishing. You set out on your own or with a buddy to gather supplies for survival, but you're not the only one trying to make it out here. Your goal is to upgrade and transform a dilapidated shelter into a home that can support your future missions. I actually really like the concept behind this game. It's a different take on the survival shooter, and it just released today for everyone on Xbox. Check the link in the video description. It'll also be playable at Gamescom this week in Hall 10.1, booth D79. So if you stop by, you can meet the developers, grab some swag, and even play the game. And speaking of the devs, I'd like to thank Bohemia Interactive for sponsoring this video. That name probably sounds familiar to you. Bohemia Interactive are also the developers of the Arma games, DayZ, and even Operation Flashpoint. If you're an old timer like me, you probably remember that game pretty fondly. Now, what I like about Vigor is that it presents the survival shooter concept in a different package, in a more accessible way that doesn't bog you down with busy work or punish you excessively for making a mistake. The shelter, your home base, is in a hidden place where other players cannot raid or destroy it. This always gives you a place to come back to in between missions, and instead of working on ranking up your character, you rank up your shelter with better abilities to aid you for your next missions. If you die on a mission, you may lose all the gear you had on you, but if you're able to get it back to the shelter, you can then upgrade the shelter permanently. At the shelter, you can build a crafting table for creating weapons and first aid, but it also has distilleries, storage, herb gardens, and other things that can be built, like an antenna and gas generator that will allow you to get better equipped in between missions. Many of the upgrades at the shelter automatically generate resources for you, even when you're not playing the game. Those resources can be used to craft ammo, weapons, aid kits, and even generate you some passive income that can be used to buy mission insurance to cover your losses or provide perks to help with looting. When you go on a mission to the Outlands, you essentially queue up in an instance of other players who are technically your competition. And then you explore the environment and gather loot. But you're also competing with each other for that loot, and if you kill another player, you can take everything that they had, and they're out of the instance. There's no respawn, so there's a set amount of players that join every instance. So the incentive to loot is very high, the incentive to survive is very high, and the incentive to kill other players can be very high since you can take all of their loot. Each time you go on a mission, there are several events that will occur, giving you different objectives or options in how you want to play out an instance. At some point toward the end of a round, a supply drop will land on the map. This is where the best loot in the game is located, and everyone knows that, so getting this loot and escaping with it is no easy task. If you are able to get to the supply drop unharmed, looting it will locate you on the map for all other players to hunt you down. So you want to make a beeline toward an exit or try and slip past the enemies any way possible. Chances are players may actually be planning to cut you off, so there's a strong possibility that you're going to have to fight your way out. There's also additional tools and goals that will appear during a round. Barred houses are marked on the map that will contain a safe with high-end loot. Everyone knows where this is, so going for it is extra risky. There's also a signal detector on each map that, when you activate it, momentarily reveals all other player locations. This is, of course, a double-edged sword in that when you activate the signal detector, it alerts everyone that they've been located, and they also know that you're at the signal detector. But it can give you a quick idea of where it might be safe to loot or where to go hunting if you want some action. Gunshots and footsteps are also a pretty reliable way to find other players. Now, each map has multiple escape locations, and if you choose so, you can leave at any time and you'll make it away with your loot. So if you pick up something really good that you like a lot, you can always just go to an exit and try and keep that loot, provided that nobody's camping it or hunting you down. If you stay in the server long enough, eventually a radiation storm will come in, or the wind will blow in some radiation, and it'll force you to leave the map anyway. This usually happens shortly after the supply drop comes down, so you can't just dilly-dally the whole time. You actually have to aggressively go around looking for loot, and it's a pretty good deterrent for camping players. You have to camp very strategically and for a shorter period of time. Now, Vigor is designed as a free-to-play game with a cosmetic and insurance-based economy. What's that mean exactly? So, the cosmetic side of things allows you to use real-world money to buy weapon skins and character cosmetics like backpacks, hats, gloves, pants, etc. Things that won't actually affect your in-game performance. The insurance side of things allows you to spend real-world money to insure your character's weapons and resources when you go into a mission. So if you get killed, you can still bring a lot of your gear back with you afterward, but the person who killed you does still get to take loot off of your dead body. So you're not really robbing other players of their hard-earned loot. However, the insurance doesn't cover all items that you pick up in the game, especially loot drops. So if you are going for a loot drop, you're still going to have to get it to an exit. You can't buy your way out of that one. You can also use your in-game currency to increase the loot drop rates in an instance, but this affects everyone. So instead of giving you a bonus, you improve things for everyone playing in that specific instance, and at the start of the round you can see who is activating these bonuses, which will often inspire multiple people to pop them off in sort of a potluck style. So often you're not the only one spending a little bit of currency to increase the loot drop rates, and if you're not spending any money at all, there's a good chance somebody is going to increase the loot drop rates regardless. And it should also be mentioned that the currency you get from spending real-world money can also be auto-generated in-game by upgrading your shelter to give you a boost every 24 hours. You won't really generate as much currency as you could get by spending real-world money, but it means that you're not excluded from the cash economy if you're not pumping tons of money into the game. So ultimately, you should be able to get just about everything in the game without spending any money. It's just that spending some money will allow you to probably increase the rate at which you get cosmetic upgrades and stuff like that. So you're not going to be able to spend money to get a performance advantage over your opponents for the most part, and that's a good thing. Overall, I really like the format of Vigor. It's a really nice way to introduce the survival shooter concept. It's a little less daunting to get into. It's still got all the fun, enjoyable qualities of the standard looter shooters without quite so punishing an environment. I think it's really cool. It's awesome that they've added in the ability to play with friends, and it seems like there's a lot of other cool features being worked on for the future. Again, check out the game in the video description if you want to try it out for yourself. It's on Xbox right now. You can test it out. Thanks again to Bohemia Interactive for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap signing off.